Okay, so let's start. Uh, the topic of today's discussion is activity-based costing and management. So normally there are two ways to do costing. One is we call them as a very simple or a standard way of costing in which we divide or distribute the uh, factory overhead or the indirect expenses. Uh, okay, Bree, thank you for writing your introduction and from where you are. So that's great that you are from Windsor. And so welcome to the class. Let's So activity-based costing and management and the standard costing. Now, these two ideas are that the overhead expenses or indirect expenses, which we cannot directly charge to the production, uh, how we distribute these overhead expenses or costs among the different products, among the products. So this concept is only applicable to those manufacturers or producers in they are producing two or more products. If it's single product, then there is no issue of how to charge the indirect or factory overhead to the production. So that's one thing. So standard method of charging indirect cost to the product or the activity-based costing method. So in this particular chapter, we focus that how the activity-based, or in short, we also call them as ABC. ABC method is more appropriate and gives us a more accurate idea of the product cost as compared to the standard one. So in the standard one, there is a possibility that we can overcharge or overstate the cost of a one product and understate the cost of other product. So by this way, there is a possibility that we are actually pricing or emphasizing on the sale or the profit of a product which is under costed, and by this way we are not adding to the profit of the organization. So for that reason, ABC is a technique we use to charge the overhead activities. Uh, so what are the learning objectives for this particular chapter is identify the basic elements of activity-based costing system like ABC as distinguished from a traditional or a standard or a simple costing system. And the reason for adopting this ABC method is that how we can prevent, how we can uh, uh, reduce the undercosting and overcosting of a product or a service. That's not only relevant to the product, but also for the services. And we, at the end of the chapter, we also discussed that this ABC costing is not applicable only to the manufacturing, but also to the services industries like hospitals, like transportations and all these things. So that's the main crux of this chapter is that we want to emphasize on ABC costing method and how it helps us to reduce the over and under costing of the product or prevent. Identify and explain the problem of preventable overcosting and undercosting. So then we highlight why it is important that we otherwise we can say and that the net impact is not so big difference because the bottom line is not changing. So cost is cost for the organization, whether it is charged to the product A or product B. And at the end of the day, when we calculate the profit of any organization, that is the residual value out of the revenue, how much expenses we incur. So the net or the last line of the uh, profit income statement is not changing. But the important thing is what is changing is that we have to reprice our products based on the costing, and we can emphasize to our customer that this product is having more cost. So for that reason, we can renegotiate the price with our customers that and other products which are less cost consuming. So we can again renegotiate with our customer to reduce the price, and we can increase the revenue with this by increasing their sales. So this is the way that it is important from traditional costing system to the ABC costing system. So apply the now what we do in the ABC costing system is we divide the overall manufacturing or service providing process into different activities, and that activities is broken down on the basis of hierarchy of activities. Like some activities are on the batch level, some activities are on the product level, some activities are on the organizational level. So we have to divide the activities on the basis of their hierarchy. Then we assign and figure it out the cost drivers. Now, very important to understand what is cost driver. Driver means that on the basis of which we divide the cost of that particular activity. For example, in a standard accounting, standard costing system, we use direct labor hours. That is a very commonly used driver for dividing the indirect expenses to the product, or the machine hours, or that how much labor cost or material cost. So there are different drivers, but if we divide the whole indirect expenses into different activities, and then we figure it out, the driver for each activity, and then we distribute the cost among the products. The benefit of activity-based costing system is the last thing, and that's the objective of the managerial accounting, is that to help the managers to make a good decision. So this ABC costing system helps the management to utilize the activity-based management style. So that's the way it works. So let's start to yeah, that's thank you, Morgan. Yes, yeah, I think your mic is not working, so that's why I didn't get any voice from your side. So you are from Alberta. Great, that's great. So we right now there are two participants. One is from Windsor, Ontario, and the other one is from Alberta. And I hope the weather is good in Alberta and Windsor as well, like what we have in BC right now. I am in BC, so so welcome, Morgan. That's uh, okay. So product over and under costing. So that's first we want to understand what is product under or over costing. So simple costing system assign cost based on average. Normally, as I mentioned, we get budgeted cost or indirect or a manufacturing overhead, and divide it with the budgeted variable, which can be labor hours, which can be a machine hours. So these are the so we define it as in taking an average. So simple costing system assign cost based on average and can lead to inaccurate information and poor decision making. So definitely we know that if the information is incorrect, so definitely the decision is also not going to be good. Indirect costs are high, especially in those industries or in those processes when we are producing goods and services in which there is a lot of indirect cost is involved, then this impact is bigger, like for under and over costing of the products. Uh, products or services are diverse, like there are different products. As I mentioned, that this issue is only pertaining to the those who are producing two or more products. So what is meant by undercosting? A product consumes high level of resources, but is allocated low cost per unit. So means that the resources are used more, but the cost is less. And overcosting is that the product is using more low level of resources, but uh, allocated high cost per unit. So that's the way what we define it as a undercosting or overcosting. So the result of the spreading indirect cost evenly, despite different causes or activities, overcost overcosted product absorb too much cost, making it seems less profitable. As I mentioned that if the cost is under costed, then the product seems to be profitable, but in fact it is not. And if the product is overcosted, the product seems to be less profitable, but it is, in fact it is. So that's why it is important to be careful with overcosting and undercosting. Undercosting product is left with too little cost, making it seems more profitable than it is. So that's the overcosted products are subsidizing the undercosted. So as again, if as I mentioned that the bottom line is not changing, the only change is that some products seems to be more costly as compared to others, and they are subsidizing each other. So the cost of one product is financed or covered under the other product. Now, how we in a standard. So this is the first example is this example of a firm that is use the standard accounting system. So if we go to the next slide, so there are this is a firm which we named it here. Plastem means they are producing two different types of lenses for glasses. So we see here that there are two types of glasses. One is simple lenses or complex lenses. So they are producing two types of lenses. One is a simple lens and the other one is a complex one. So how much they are producing? They are producing 60,000 simple lens and 15,000 complex lens. Means it's a, and the direct material, you know that there are three types of cost to any product or service. One is direct material, the other one is direct labor, and the third one is a indirect cost. Now, this indirect cost or a manufacturing overhead is it's very hard to identify that how we distribute it, because direct material, we know that how much plastic or glass or whatever we are using to manufacture any product is very clearly measured and defined, like this much material is used by this product. The second thing is how much labor we are using. That's again a direct cost, and we can identify that how much hours or time the labor is spending to manufacture that. So that's the labor cost. The overhead cost is like the electricity bill, like the gas bill, or transportation, administration, the depreciation of tools and equipments, and all these things. These which are very hard to identify. Okay, how much the cost of this particular, for example, a depreciation, for example, the lightning expenses for the manufacturing facility, all these things, or the security system we are using, or the supervisors or the cleaning. These are the expenses which is hard to identify that how much we are charged to each product. So we just club all these expenses and say that okay, this is these are total indirect expenses. Now we are producing 60,000 simple lenses, so we divide it with the 60,000. 60,000 are simple lenses and 15,000 are the complex. So divide it with the 85 and then distribute to the each lens in this way. So you see here that we indirect cost allocated step, which is a step 3 in the previous. I will explain you. So we see here that they distribute it based on that how many labor hours they are using. So if you see here that this the 2.2 385 million is the total overhead or indirect cost. They use the method to distribute this cost based on direct manufacturing labor hours. So how much direct manufacturing labor hours they are using is the total is the 39,750, out of which 30,000 is used by the simple lenses and 9,750 is used by the complex lenses. So by this way, they distribute this cost 60. So each they calculate by dividing this whole total indirect cost with the total number of direct labor hours used for both the products, and they get it like a $60 per hour. So the indirect cost, average indirect cost is $60 per hour per direct labor hour. And they distribute how? Because they know that 30,000 hours used by the simple lens and 9,750 hours direct labor hours, because direct labor hours are measurable. So they know exactly that how many labor hours are used. So 9,750 is used by the complex lens. So by this way, they multiply this 60 with the 30,000 and get it and 1.8 million for simple lens and 585,000 for complex lens. And when we divide this 1.8 million with the 60,000, the per unit indirect cost for simple lens is 30 and per unit cost of complex lens is 39. So I am what we are trying to here explain is the standard or the traditional allocation of indirect cost towards the product. So this is a traditional method of allocating, and we see here that 1.80 1.8 million is allocated towards the simple lens and 885 is allocated towards the complex lens. And the criteria they use it, they figure it out that the indirect cost is $60 per direct labor hour, and they multiply this with the labor hours used by these two products. So simple costing or a standard or costing is also known as a peanut butter approach, because we spread the peanut butter over the bread loaf equally, and that's why we are saying it's a peanut butter approach, because we are spreading the indirect cost evenly over all the products what we are producing. And that's what I said. We divide this with the number of direct manufacturing labor hours, and we get this $60 per hour and multiply it with the 30 for simple lens, because we use 30,000 labor hours DML direct manufacturing labor hours for simple lens and 9,750 for complex lens. And by this way, we get it 1.8 million for this and 585,000 for simple lens in this case. Now, what's the problem? There's no problem. And by this way, we get it like that the per unit cost of simple lens is 58.75 and per unit cost of complex lens is 97, right? It's a standard way. Yes. So then why, the question is then why we are asking, or we are saying that in this way, there is a possibility of overcasting and undercasting. So that's the objective of this whole topic, that we want to explain that how we can deal with that. So there are three ways that we can improve this doubt of under and over costing through the standard or traditional method of distribution of indirect cost towards the product. So the first one is that identify as many direct cost as economically feasible. Try to figure it out from the indirect cost that there is a possibility how much we can charge directly. We can identify that how much we are using. So try to out of this pool of indirect costs, figure it out a maximum that is possible that we can transfer it as a direct cost. Some maybe goes to the material, some maybe goes to the labor, but we try to figure it out that how much we can identify. So only indirect costs are those costs which we cannot identify whether it is a direct cost. There is no possibility that we can identify it as a direct cost. The second, that whatever is left in that pool of indirect cost, expand the number of indirect cost pool until each is more homogeneous. Then divide this pool into small pools based on that homogeneity among the pools. Like we try to divide the pool of cost into small pools of cost, which are easily to divide among the products. They are more homogeneous as compared to the big pool. Choose a cost driver that has the most effect on the cost pool. So try to divide the pool of indirect costs into homogeneous small pools and then find it out the driver for each pool. So this is the way that ABC is working. So ABC is a tool to refine costing system that identify individual activities as the cost object. And activity, an event, task, or a unit or a work with a specified purpose, like dispatching, like transportation, like administration, like uh, packing, assembling, or uh, uh, maintenance, or redesigning, or designing. So these are the activities that we have to take care to cost these separately and divide it with their own drivers of the costing. So ABC systems identify activities in all value chain functions, calculate cost of individual activities, and assign cost to products or services based on the mix of activities needed to produce the product or a service. So that's the way that we are not taking a very broad average of the indirect cost and apply to the products. We try to figure it out, these small indirect cost into small indirect costs based on the activities and divide it or distribute it in a way that gives a more accurate or a correct cost of the product. The separation of one indirect cost pool into cost pools according to the level at which the activity contributed produce output. So we also divide the activities into four hierarchies. Like one is the activity which is very specific to the product, and we call it as a product or an output level or a unit level. Like if something we are designing a new product, so it means that it's a object we are doing directly to the output. This is the event we are taking place directly related to the output. Now there is some activities we do at a batch level. Like the things are when if you have a chance to see the manufacturing unit, the goods are produced in batches. Like they set some dies and all these things and plant according to the specifications of the product, and then they produce 100 or 200 or a 1,000 or a million output, and then they change the things and produce another batch. So it's a batch wise production. uh, then comes the product sustaining level, that we want to produce goods and we have to maintain the plant. We have to, that's normally the depreciation and maintenance costs are those that we are doing on a product sustainability uh, level. And then facility sustaining level means that in order to run the whole organization as a business, we are doing some costs, and that cost is going to charge to the products according to the activity. Like the HR knows that how many people we are particularly doing a job for this product and how much people are doing a job for this product. Marketing department the cost of marketing department is a facility sustaining level activity, and we have to divide the cost of that marketing department according to the how much they are contributing towards the product. So these are the things that we have to divide the activities based on these four hierarchies, whether it is very specific to the product level or an output level, the batch level, the product sustaining level, or the facility sustaining level. So these are the four ways through which we divide the activities. And based on that, we distribute the cost, indirect cost. So hierarchy is used to identify the activity cost drivers of the cost in which the activity moves. So output unit level cost relating to the individual output of unit of output, such as material cost. Uh, Batch level cost relating to the batches of output, such as setup charges, that's a batch level. Product sustaining cost relating to the support of a particular product, such as uh, sorry, product designs cost and all these. Facility sustaining cost, the cost relating to the organization as a whole, as I mentioned. Now here, the same example of a Plastem, those who are producing two types of lenses. One is simple, the other one is complex. Now what we did with the, and that job is not done by some in a lack of experience. There is a need of an experience to divide this cost of indirect uh, uh, cost of pool of indirect cost into small pools. So here we see that the experts, or those who are having a lot of experience, they divide this into 6 different activities, and that's what we call it as activity-based costing. So they divide these 6 activities. One is design activity. And this design activity is 100 parts square feet. So that's the charge. The driver for this is 100 parts square feet. The cost for each 100 parts square feet is 4,500 per part square feet. The modeling machine setup activity, like the modeling machine, those who model the lenses, there's 2,000. So total activity of this, both the lenses are 100 part square feet, and the cost of each part square feet is 4,500. Modeling machine setup activity is 2,000 setup hours. And the cost is also defined, like here the cost is 450,000, 300,000. And when we divide this 3,000 with 2,000, so we get it 150 per setup hour. Modeling machine operation activity 637,500, and the machine hours we are using to divide it, which is the driver. So these are the drivers, and these are the activities. So per unit is 50 per modeling machine hours, not per machine. This is an activities, not per unit. It's a per machine hours. Shipment setup activity. The cost is 81,000, and during this whole time, 200 shipments were made, and each shipment cost around 405 per shipment. Distribution activity 391,500. The cubic feet delivered is 67,800. So the cost per delivery distribution activity is 5.8 per cubic foot delivered. Administration activity is total cost is 255,000, and the driver is the direct manufacturing labor hours we are using here. So which is, we already know that 39,750. So when we divide this 255,000, we get it that this is our per direct machine labor hour for administration. Now, if we go there, that which one? Design is a product level activity. Setup modeling machine is a batch level activity, because they set up the machine and then they manufacture a certain batch, and then they set up the other modeling machine. Machine operations is a unit level activity. Shipment setup is a batch level because they ship is a batch level. Distribution is a unit level, and administration is a facility level activity. And we already calculated, and I explained you here that how we get these numbers. So these are the drivers, and this is the rate what we are getting, and rate what rate 4,500 per square foot per setup hour, per modeling machine hour, per shipment, per cubic foot, and per direct material labor, direct manufacturing labor hours. Now again, the same thing, but it's in a different way in the sense that Uh, the first two things are same like in a standard, like we direct material, direct manufacturing, labor. So you see here these direct material and direct manufacturing labor. Now, what we did is one more thing is that we take it out the possibility that direct mold cleaning and maintenance cost for both the products. And we see here that this direct mold cleaning and manufacturing cost is 120,000 for simple lenses and 150,000 for complex lenses. So as we mentioned, there are three possibilities that how we can improve the costing. One is to take out as much as possible the direct costs in the pool of indirect costs. So we take it out this way. The rest of the things we divide it based on the activities. So you see, this is the total direct cost for both the lenses. Like this one is 1845 thousand and 1020,000 for complex lenses. We then apply based on information like how much design we apply for the simple lens and for the complex lens. So we see that 30 parts square feet apply to simple lens at the rate of 4,500. So we get it 135,000. But for complex lens, this design is 70 parts square feet and apply the rate is same like 4,500. And we get it here 315,000. Setup of molding machines. Three, sorry about so machine molding machine operation, we again divide based on the activities. Like for a simple lens is 9,000 molding machine hours, and for complex is 3,750 molding machine hours. So we multiply with the 50 and we divide the cost among these two products. And same is the case with the machine operations, shipment setup, distribution, administration, and we see here that the cost, this whole indirect cost, these all indirect cost is distributed. This is per unit, and this is the total, and this is per unit based on different activities. Now, when we add up all these costs, so we get this much is the indirect cost allocated towards the simple lens, and this much is allocated to the complex lens. And the important point to be noted here is that based on standard or traditional costing system, what we did is we charged the simple lens 1.8 million and 585,000 for the complex lens. But here what we are doing after this detailed analysis of the indirect cost, now the cost towards the simple lens is 1.153. Although what we have to do is we also subtract this element from there as well. So if we add that one as well, but it's still a very comparatively very different from the what we charge as a standard or as a traditional costing system. And same is the case when you add this and this. So it's a 1 million and we charge it 585, and it's a 1.8 million and we are charging here it's 1 point around 2 around 270 million, 1.273 million. So we see that there is a difference, and difference is explained here. Like when we analyze, we see that according to the ABC system, the simple lens is over costed by 8.77 unit per lens, and complex lens is under costed by 35.07. Although, as I mentioned, the bottom line is not changing, but the cost is changed. And if we are emphasizing and we are selling this simple lens around if any price, so it means we are over assuming by $8 that we are selling with the $8 profit, whatever the profit plus $8, which is over understated, overstated the sorry, yes, overstated. So we are understating the profit from simple lens. And same is the case, like what we are assuming that the profit we are generating from complex lens is overstated by $35 per lens. So this way we can change our pricing, we can change our emphasis of towards the customer, and by this way we can improve the way. So the conclusion is that each method is mathematically correct, like whether it's a standard or traditional method of costing, or it's an ABC costing. Why it is mathematically correct? Because the bottom line is not changing. Each method is acceptable from accounting standard point of view as well. Each method yield a different cost figure. Yes, that's, and I showed you here, which will lead to a different gross margin calculations. And only overhead is involved. Total cost for the entire firm remains the same. So the total cost, as I repeated many times, bottom line is not changing. So total cost is not changing. The only change is that how do we allocate this indirect cost towards a one product, product A or product B. So that's the selection of the appropriate method and driver should be based on experience. As I mentioned, there is a need of an experience to identify, to break down these pool of indirect cost into different pools, industry practices, as well as the cost benefit analysis of each option under consideration. Now, consideration in implementing ABC, well, when the firms realize that ABC is more effective, more efficient way of costing as compared to the traditional one. But when you are implementing, you must have to keep it in mind these points. Large amount of indirect costs allocated one or two cost pools. So when we have to see that the cost of these indirect costs are very high as compared to direct costs. All or most indirect cost identified as a unit level. Product makes diverse demand on resources. So product expected to be profitable show small profits and vice versa. So operation staffs disagree with this reported cost of manufacturing. Now, when there is a organization in large organizations, the organization is divided into different departments, and each department is responsible for a particular product. And if the departments realize that our product is getting more profit, so there is some internal competition among the departments within the organization. Now, it is important that every department is agreed on these drivers and pools, because ultimately what is going to happen is that the profit of the organization is not changing so much, but the profits within the department or internal profit calculations of the departments is going to be changed. So that's important that the employees should be in a confidence that what system or what method and what drivers we are using. So use ABC information to guide management decisions and distinguish value-added activities from non-value-added activities. So by this way, we can emphasize, like for example, just for an example to understand, if we are earning less profit on simple lens, and there are a lot of deliveries and a lot of design change and modeling change involved, so we can request our customers that, okay, if you don't change the design so much, and if you order the things in bulk, so that our delivery process is going to be narrowed down. So by this way, what is going to happen, we can offer you some discount. So by this way, what we can save more cost, and we offer, or we can improve our competitiveness in the market by charging less price. So this is the way that it's a very strategic decision in the management level. So reduce cost and improve processes, improve selection of process activities in price and product mix decisions, assist in making design decisions, and match resources to customers' demand to achieve growth plans. So these are the benefits. So this ABC, activity-based manufacturing, is not only in manufacturing or merchandising firm. Yeah, it is also possible to apply this concept in services like healthcare, banking, telecommunication, retail, and transportation. So these ABC is a method of distributing indirect cost among the different activities or among the different products. So that's also applicable, that we can apply to the these type of uh, businesses as well. So today's uh, whole class is divided into two chapters. So so far I covered one chapter, and that chapter is regarding ABC, or activity based costing.